Welcome to Keep What You Earn, where entrepreneurs of all levels learn how to navigate the financial side of entrepreneurship so they can keep what they earn and grow their business with confidence. My name is Shannon Weinstein. I'm a CPA, coach, and business mentor, here to simplify the money side of business for you so you can build your wealth and create the life you desire. Each week, I'll bring you guest interviews and solo episodes to help you unlock growth in your business through both strategy and mindset. I hope this episode inspires you to take action, but remember that the information contained in this episode is intended for educational purposes only and is not individual tax advice. Please seek the assistance of a qualified accounting or tax professional to implement anything you may learn in today's episode. All right, let's dive in. Are you someone you know or your spouse an expecting entrepreneur? Did you know that as an entrepreneur that you have access to resources to make your transition to parenthood less of a financial burden? Truth be told, I didn't know much about this at all. We commonly associate parental leave with a corporate environment and think of corporate policies and HR paperwork when it comes to parental leave and things like that. But what if I told you that you have access to similar benefits as an entrepreneur? So today we're speaking with Arianna Taboada. She's a maternal health consultant, helping expecting entrepreneurs to make their maternity leave and transition to motherhood a lot smoother, while also keeping their business thriving. As a maternal health professional, combined with her experience as a business owner and mom, she provides highly personalized services for service-based entrepreneurs. Before she started her consulting practice, Arianna worked on maternal health issues for over a decade as a health educator, social worker, and a reproductive health researcher, as well as a yoga therapist. If you or someone you know is an expecting entrepreneur, or they plan to be, you'll definitely want to save this episode. Let's meet Arianna right now. Hi, Arianna. Welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Thanks for having me, Shannon. I'm excited to be here and dive into the topic today.
Of course. So tell us a little bit about you and how you became an expert in this subject of talking about parental leave and everything that goes along with that.
Sure. So I, as many entrepreneurs do, got into this specific area in a somewhat of a roundabout way. I am a maternal health professional by training, and so worked in formal health systems with populations who were in that perinatal transition period. And in 2013, went into private practice, where I just started seeing the trend around most of my clients being self-employed. And even though I was kind of serving a wide range of kind of intersecting issues around that occur during perinatal, the perinatal period, so related to postpartum care and mental health and social support, what really kept sticking out is that people were arriving kind of in the postpartum return to work phase, really struggling with the reality of working for yourself and not having a parental leave structure when you are a business owner. And so I just started experimenting with, thinking about, can I move my work back to actually working with people starting in pregnancy to think about parental leave, both from the business side and from the personal side. And so I've been doing that since 2015.
Yeah. So people usually think that these are mutually exclusive. Like parental leave, we associate with corporate America, right? A lot of folks are actually staying in their corporate jobs, listening out there because of parental leave and what they get to experience with that. And they're saying, oh, I'll stay until I go on leave and then we'll see, right? It's usually some type of benefit that we associate with working for a corporation or a bigger company. But when it comes to getting out of the employee mindset and into the entrepreneur mindset, what are some ways that you've seen entrepreneurs become successful in taking advantage of things like this? Because we even had this conversation via email where I said, I never really think about parental leave in the context of an entrepreneur. And I think we need to know more about this. So what knowledge do you have to share about how to take advantage of that as an entrepreneur?
Sure. So I was nodding my head as you were talking through that kind of expectation or norm around leave being a corporate thing, and that that in and of itself is actually an anomaly in the world of parental leave. The U.S. is the only high income country, and really one of a handful of countries that does not have a federal leave policy where there is like Social Security, a system that is responsible for covering needs of a certain population with a certain life event or circumstance. And so we kind of add that layer of parental leave in the US is thought of as this thing tied to employers, when that's not necessarily the case. And states in the US have actually, in the absence of a federal leave policy, have actually rolled out state level programs. There are 9 states plus DC that currently have them. It's Rhode Island, California, New Jersey, New York, DC, Washington, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Oregon, and Colorado. And some of those are rolling out, some of those are established, but that's actually the clearest example we have of in the US states that have programs and policies where entrepreneurs and small business owners are oftentimes eligible. That said, it is not easy to navigate those systems. And so for the most part, entrepreneurs are funding their own leave when it comes to taking time off for a new baby or something that, some other life circumstance where you might need to take leave, such as caring for a family member, recovering from surgery, things like that.
Yeah. And actually, so I'm based in Connecticut and we have the paid family leave. And one thing to note is it's not always about parental leave. There's actually several different ways to take advantage of family leave or absences that deal with caring for a family member or close friend, even depending on the circumstances. But there is an extensive application process and vetting to make sure that you meet all the qualifications to take this. But you chip into it year round with the anticipation that you can then take advantage of it, I think on an annual basis even. So I think every state's a little bit different, right, Arianna, in terms of how they structure it.
Totally. So yeah, Connecticut's, like you mentioned, is structured as a kind of overarching medical leave for you or a family member. States that are similar to that setup are Washington, Massachusetts, Oregon, and Colorado. In some states, it's set up as a temporary disability leave and under kind of the disability administration. And that's Rhode Island, California, where I'm based, New Jersey, New York. And then DC has this interesting kind of universal leave structure that they've set up. But you're right, it is like like many benefits, kind of federal, state level benefits can be, it is a lot of paperwork. It is oftentimes hard to understand eligibility requirements, and the coverage and payment amounts also vary state by state. So there's a great actually like chart that we could link to in the show notes that provides a comparative kind of spreadsheet of what that looks like state by state, in case you're in one of those states and are interested. But at a high level, it tends to cover between 850 to about 1,000 a week. And the weeks that it covers range from 4 weeks to 12 weeks.
Yeah, it's really extensive. And I know that Connecticut's is like up to 12 weeks at $1,000 a week, which is great. But for those who maybe don't have access to those programs or aren't enrolled in those programs, and they find themselves needing to take advantage of something like this, you mentioned funding your own leave. What are some ways that folks can effectively fund their own leave and be able to kind of just have peace of mind knowing that it's taken care of? They don't have to stress over taking a leave.
Yeah, so I feel like that's where folks like you often come in, being able to have a solid financial advisor, accountant, kind of your financial team, to help you figure out what do I need to build into the business financial cushion wise for it to function for X amount of time. And so oftentimes figuring out the amount of weeks you can take is going to be this interesting kind of dance of figuring out what is financially possible, what are the finances like in my business, as well as what is my personal financial situation, and what are the what are the kind of puzzle pieces, if you will, that are going to factor into how long I can take, and what I will be able to draw from in terms of either salary or owner's draws in the business, as well as what business expenses will look like during those weeks or months that you are off, and obviously having a really clear sense of cash flow in your business. So a lot of financial planning is a big piece of it. And I'm imagining your wheels might be turning right now as you're thinking about clients who might have brought up the question. And I can certainly, bring some examples of people, different ways people have approached it that I've seen.
Yeah, I would love to hear more about your examples. And I just love that you brought up cash flow, which is kind of our love language over here at Financial Solutions. Cash flow is my love language. And that's really what it comes down to, is understanding how cash enters and exits your business so that you can time all that well and never have to be stressed out over not having enough money in the bank. So yeah, tell us a few more examples, Arianna, of how this has been implemented.
Sure. I think I'll go through a couple of different scenarios. The first scenario is, and just as context, I typically have worked with people who are small business owners, but do have some kind of team, whether it's contractors or employees, part-time or full-time. And so I'll start at the outset of saying, like, if you are a true solopreneur, then the options are more limited than if you have people on your team who you can delegate or outsource to in some way, or who help kind of bring in revenue. That said, even solopreneurs, it's often pregnancy can kind of be a forcing function of having you think through what are the revenue generating activities that I actually want to continue happening while I am on leave, and who can I bring on, train up, onboard, in reverse order, hire, onboard, train, to make sure that those activities are still happening, and how can I structure my kind of service delivery in a way that that respects the time that I want to have off, and also respects the quality of service that I want to provide to my clients. So some people look at their financials and they say, okay, great. I have a cushion, and I know that I can cover expenses, and I'm going to figure out like what else there is, so to speak, to be able to pay myself. And if that's kind of on the personal financial side feasible for your family, then that is an option that I see a lot of people go with, is kind of making sure the business continues to move forward, and covers all expenses, and having kind of what comes to you personally be a bit more flexible. So that's scenario one, let's call it. Scenario two, I often see as people deciding to take unpaid leave, where they say, I am so entrenched in bringing in all of the business that I would be nervous about taking either regular salary or draws while I am on leave. So I'm going to essentially act as if I am taking unpaid leave, and then are able to work with their financial team to figure out, is there actually money coming in? And so you can kind of do scenario two, but see what ends up being feasible if you are set up to take owner's draws when you are returning from leave.
If you're a business owner focused on growth and expansion, the secret to unlocking your next level of income in your business is decoding your financials. Unfortunately, what holds most entrepreneurs back is that they aren't sure how to interpret their numbers to make strategic decisions as they grow. That's where we come in. We provide CFO services for business owners who need a simplified approach to their finances and the insights into their financial opportunities as they're growing. If you're looking to earn $500,000 or more this year, and you're committed to your business's growth, then your next expert on your team should be a CFO. Click on the link below in the show notes to schedule a consultation for our monthly and quarterly CFO services, which include everything you need to bring peace of mind around the financials so you can focus on doing what you do best.
And the third option is people who have access to these programs and policies, and that We just covered a bit of those details. So there's a lot of variation, but that, same process of sitting down to look at the financials. And an important thing to note with those programs and policies is that it takes time for the benefits to come to you. And so people are often in a scenario that looks more like scenario 1 or 2, even if they're going with scenario 3, because it gets paid, the benefits get paid out later than over the course of several weeks while you're taking your leave, and aren't kind of money in the bank in the same way that that would be if you have revenue coming in from the business.
Yeah. And on that subject of the different state programs, one question that came to mind that I've heard before is, do I have to be an employee of my business to be able to take advantage of these things?
Yeah, great question. So and again, state by state is, you should look at the particular state that you are in and what their eligibility requirements are. You can do this as an independent contractor. So if you're 1099ing, for example, and are not an employee of anywhere or of your business or of a kind of entity you have set up, you are still eligible in California, for example. And so the state level program websites are the first place I would start to try and figure out, and also working and sitting down with your accountant or tax preparer and figuring out, have you been paying into the system? Because that is, those two things are the easiest ways, and easy in quotations. It still takes work. It still takes a lot of navigating. But if you have paid in, then you are eligible to be paid out and receive the benefit. And then checking the program websites to figure out. But typically the accountant is the first place I would start, and go from there.
Yep, I agree. And no, that's actually what we want to be involved into with our clients, right? Is that they're looking at doing this, making sure they understand all the implications along the way. And that's an important note, because I read up on the Connecticut paid leave and actually was looking into this when I was going to quit my corporate job. I was looking into the paid leave side because I have a husband who's gone through multiple surgeries and health issues. And I said, okay, what if I could take this leave? And it turns out I would qualify for that. So I did a lot of reading on it, and I was amazed to find out that in Connecticut, at least, I know it's state by state, but in Connecticut, it was self-employed folks could just, if you were just a Schedule C guys, you can do this. You don't have to be an S Corp. You don't have to be an employee of your business. So I was intrigued to find out that, this is not like you have to be making a paycheck in order to contribute to this. This is anybody who is running a small business. And I think that's so cool that it's opened up to so many people.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that there's been several surveys, especially with the kind of the latest wave of advocating for paid leave at a federal level. There's been a lot of surveying of small business owners, and across the board, like small business owners from rural towns, from urban centers, across the political spectrum, are really in favor of paid leave, because if there's a federal support for it, then that actually means that small businesses might get things like grants for wage replacements for folks, and it won't just be on a state by state basis. And so it's been really interesting to see how much in favor small business owners are, and some of the state programs provide a great example of like how much of a difference it can make to a small business owner to have a weekly amount that they can count on during a time of, big transition for your family, or of medical hardship, or something that, just lets you not be, that requires your focus to be on something other than your business for a few weeks.
Which sounds unheard of for most entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah. And the thing is, like, we're all we're human, right? We're still, entrepreneurs don't become immortal in some weird way. So it's like, you still at some point in your life, some point in your business kind of trajectory will probably need to receive care or give care, or be in a situation where you are trying to figure out how to navigate this.
Yeah. And what would you say to the entrepreneurs who maybe, and I'm kind of one of these, heads up, that says, I'm going to wait to have kids until I do X, Y, and Z, which is the never ending finish line that we set for ourselves to say, well, I got to build the business a bit more and then I'll think about kids, or I have to do this and then I'll think about kids. Um, what is your take on, you know, can we have it all? Can we do all of the things? Can we have a business and raise a family? What's the conversation you're hearing, and what's your contribution to that in terms of, when you hear that, what do you think?
Yeah. So I was trying not to chuckle out loud because the reality is there's no perfect time to have a kid, right?
Exactly.
It's a very personal choice. Um, and, and the interesting thing that I'll share is that I have often seen pregnancy be kind of a forcing function when it comes to small business owners and the things that they were hoping to do or wanted to get set up. But because there wasn't this deadline, and all of a sudden you have, 40 weeks, 10 months to make it happen, that I have seen people really be able to, in the course of planning for leave, actually structure their business in a way that works for them beyond beyond leave, and provides this kind of accelerator, if you will, to figuring out some key sustainability pieces of the business that can serve you both in the context of taking leave and in just quality of life in your business when you return from leave.
Yeah, it's almost a crash course in your business. And is your business something that can survive on its own, right?
Yeah, I mean, a big part of planning for leave that I often is where I start when walking clients through the planning process is actually in taking a really close look at operations and thinking about what do my standard operating procedures look like? Where are there redundancies? Where are there inefficiencies? What are the things that I am still doing on a day-to-day basis that actually I do not have to be the one doing those? And so taking a really close look at how you are spending your time and essentially revisiting operations, and within that, revisiting your kind of quote unquote job description, if you will, how you spend the day to day in your business, and what is the kind of best and highest use of your time.
Totally agree with that. I think operations is paramount in terms of scaling and also being ready for things like this so that your business can work its way into your life and not the other way around.
Yes.
So for those listening who maybe are thinking, well, I'm either expecting or I plan to be expecting in the relatively near future, where do I even start when I start thinking about leave? If I'm hearing, okay, I have the opportunity to take a parental leave, how do I start? What's my first step?
Sure. So in the planning to grow your family category, so if you're like, I'm a few years away or I'm on the fence, but I want to know what I would be getting myself into, the state level programs that we talked about, exploring those and getting to know those in the same way that you spend some time on the Connecticut state program website is a great introduction. If you are not in a state that has a program, exploring private disability insurance is another way that you can think about setting yourself up for parental leave. So in the same way that you would go to your insurance broker and talk about other insurances, liability insurance, and other things for your business, you can look into a disability leave policy that would cover pregnancy. And so that's an important distinction to note, is that if you're actually pregnant already, you cannot go and then apply for a private disability insurance. So that's one of the things to definitely look into if you are in the thinking about growing your family, or just in general, thinking about how to cover medical issues should they arise in your business. So that's one thing.
I mean, in terms of, obviously doing the research, but are there folks out there that can help them, or resources that are specific to this area that you think are really great places to start other than just the state websites?
Sure. I can plug myself here and talk about
Go for it.
A book. So I've been helping folks plan their parental leave for several years, and did a lot of one-on-one work. And in October 2021, just published a book sharing the process. And so it's called The Expecting Entrepreneur, A Guide to Parental Leave Planning for Self-Employed Small Business Owners. And so that the book itself is available, in all the places books are sold, but on the book website, which is theexpectingentrepreneur.com, I also walk people through some guiding principles for planning your leave. And there's a bunch of resources, templates, and kind of SOP and operating procedure resources, resources for figuring out your support networks, which is really key for entrepreneurs, given that we're not for the most part, not parts of large teams or large organizations where there's built-in support. And so I'd offer that up. And one of the things that I talk about in the book that also is one of the places that I suggest people start with is doing kind of informational interviews with people who either have a similar business model to you or who are in a similar industry who have taken leave before, to really better understand the ways that people have been figuring it out. Because I think that's one of the big black box kinds of things is people think they have to totally figure it out from scratch because we don't have roadmaps or blueprints for doing this kind of thing as entrepreneurs. But the reality is that people have been doing it over the years. And so figuring out, being able to learn from other people's mistakes and successes is a great way to approach planning your own leave as well.
I totally agree with that. And I always tell people, you're not the first person to do this. So find anyone who's been through it, get advice, ask questions, because that is how we're able to share knowledge and help each other out. Because without, books like yours, without resources, right? We'd all have to try to figure this out on our own, and it's no fun. And it's really hard. And we're all trying to run businesses. We don't have time to decipher all these things. So being able to have resources like Arianna is so helpful. So I wanted to say thank you for sharing all your knowledge today. What is the best way for our listeners to learn more about what you do if they're interested in either working with you or learning more from you?
Sure. So I am on the socials just under my name, and Instagram and LinkedIn are the two places that I spend the most time. And then the book website that I just mentioned, theexpectingentrepreneur.com, is the best place to go to look for resources, to check out the book itself if you're at that stage of planning. And I totally welcome conversations or questions, and wish everyone who's navigating this the best of luck.
Wonderful. We'll make sure to link all of those in the show notes for you listening, so you can tap on that and check out more of what Arianna is up to. And we always close our interviews with a couple of quick rapid fire questions. They're not super difficult. Don't worry, Arianna. They're meant to shine a little bit of light on your own experience around money. So we're talking about keeping more of what you earn here on the show, and they all kind of tie in with that theme. So number one, what is one investment that you just can't live without?
So an investment that I have been making a lot the past few weeks is just going to acupuncture. It's something that I experimented with and it's been working. So I'm sticking with it.
Love it. What did you learn about money that turned out not to be true?
That if you keep on working harder, you can make more money.
I love that one. And what makes you feel like a millionaire?
I am sitting in a new house, which is a new to me house. And so I think that ability to kind of pursue a goal and achieve a goal that will impact my quality of life, my family's quality of life, is making me feel very kind of full right now.
Love that. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to say thank you for hopping on the show and sharing your wealth of knowledge around the parental leave aspect of being an entrepreneur, which I think is really not talked about enough, or there's not enough education there about this online. So please do, if you're listening, check out Arianna's book, click on the links in the show notes and see what she's up to, because you never know when you'll need her guidance and wealth of knowledge. So make sure that you're following along. Thank you so much, Arianna, for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll see you guys next time. Hey, wouldn't it be cool if you could chat with me and our guests about this episode? Well, guess what? You can. Join the Keep What You Earn community now using the link below in the show notes. You can post your questions, chat with fellow business owners, and the best part, it's totally free. Oh, and by the way, it's not a Facebook group. That's right, no noisy notifications or distractions. Just what you need to get the full experience from listening to this podcast and maximizing your value. Meet us over there after the episode to get exclusive content and access to me and our guests for your questions. We'll see you over there. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave a rating or review wherever you listen. If you learned something new or felt inspired, please share your biggest takeaway with me on Instagram and tag me using the handle @ShannonK.Weinstein. Thank you so much for helping me spread the wealth and empower more business owners to keep what they earn. See you next time.